But we're back to in voir dire. The only evidence that you're to consider in here isn't what counsel say. It's not what comes out of our mouths. It's what comes out of this courtroom. Okay, the demonstration or whatever, you guys see it. All right, you know, holding the gun down here. You heard what they said. You got to look through the sight. It's got to be raised up. And there's the margin bears in these things. That's what Dr. Bauer had indicated. But let's just back up a little bit, because there's a lot that I need to cover with you. Let's start with just common sense and credibility. And we do ask you to bring common sense that can be used to compare to what Mr. Meade claims is the truth. It's his credibility through that statement. You don't take his word for it, like what they're suggesting. You must test the credibility for truthfulness, just like anyone else. Just because he says he thinks something or whatever, it doesn't make it true. So when Mr. Collins says, you use only what Mr. Meade says or what he knows or what he saw or what he determines, whether you believe him and whether it fits the evidence is what you guys need to look at to see using your common sense. You just don't take his word for it. And you do examine the totality of everything, unlike what Mr. Collins is trying to say. Don't look here, don't look there, okay? Only what Jason Meade says. That's all you can do, is just take what Jason Meade says. That's not what you're to do. The jury instruction says you judge all the credibility, you look at all the evidence. When looking and evaluating the evidence, you must compare it to whether Mr. Meade's assertions even make sense. The jury instruction states that you will use tests of truthfulness, that you will in your daily lives, along with reasonableness of the testimony, reasonableness of the opportunity of the witness to see, hear, know things about what the witness has testified. In this case, the testify is his statement. The witness's accuracy, memory, frankness, lack of it, interest, bias, together with all the facts and circumstances surrounding the testimony. That's what you're going to be doing here. So let's back up to I think one of the first things that Mr. Collins brought up was the Seth Penny video. Now, when you guys get that back there, I want you to listen closely to the video, because in the video, okay, the Officer Phillips does say, I missed the call, but you listen to it. Then he says, what happened? That's the part that they've left out. The what happened. And that's where you'll hear, and that's when he comes on and he tells him what happened. The call is that, he came out of the house, or he came out of the car with a gun in hand. He's going into the house with a gun in hand. That's not what he was asked. He was asked what happened, and you watch the video. You'll have it back there, and you make that determination, because you'll hear that, what happened. The convenient part that they leave out. They want to make you sound like he's just talking about the call. That's not the case. Now, it's kind of interesting that when they talk about Dr. Bauer and Dr. DeMolin, okay, they both put him up in the threshold. They both put him, have to be standing up, because you heard the testimony from both of them. If he was standing on the porch, these holes don't fit. Nothing lines up. And in fact, if you also look at Mr. DeMolin's analysis, he doesn't even do the 3 holes in the back. Now, a lot of this was, look at what the state presented to you, what they presented to you. And he kept mentioning that they didn't meet their burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, Mr. Merkel was up here and you got the instructions. The only burden of proof that we have, or the burden of proof to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt, that he knowingly caused serious physical harm to Casey Goodson, and it was the proximate cause of his death. The other one, that he was reckless and heedless indifference and a perverse disregard, and it caused his death. His statement establishes that. His typed statement establishes those elements. He admits to all that in the statement. For him to sit there and then say, well, look at all this other evidence. They didn't meet their burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That goes towards they've got the burden. They've got the burden to tell you and to prove to you by preponderance of the evidence that he was justified in shooting. And as you heard what the two use of force experts say, that if in fact Casey did turn and level the gun, and you'll have the statement back there. Listen, read how Mr. Meade describes it. He turned and raised and leveled the gun. Now, if that happened, then he was justified. Both Professor Stoughton and Mr. Scanlon both agree with that. And they both agree that if that didn't happen, if he didn't point the gun at him, it's not a reasonable. It wasn't an imminent threat, because it has to be an imminent threat of serious bodily harm or death. So let's put this back on track, okay? He can go through all the evidence that we put into this case, but he has to prove his side of the case. What evidence was there that his side of the case is truthful? What evidence in the case is there that the gun was even pointed at him? Is only Mr. Meade. He's the only one. So that's where you go and evaluate, test his statement when you go back there and read it. So let's move to the intersection. And I kind of looked at this, said it's a good thing that about the video, okay? There's this at the intersection of Carl and Ferris. Oh, it's a good thing they put in the video. That helps our case out. There's only one word in there, stop. Oh, that was some one word. Well, there's no evidence that he's changed it from stopped to slow. You read his statement. That was Mr. Collins testifying in here. There's nothing in there, that statement. When did he make this change? When did he change his testimony? You'll have a statement. It says stopped. You have no evidence before you that was changed to anything different other than counsel testifying here. Now, we do object, and the judge allows it in because the judge knows and expects you guys to follow the law, that that's not evidence. That's not what you're to consider. Mr. Collins wasn't under oath. Mr. Collins couldn't be cross-examined, just like his demonstration here. There were probably a lot of questions that everybody should have had during his demonstration as to whether or not it was going to be deceiving to you, how it was done, crouching, standing, or whatever. But we didn't have that opportunity because why? It's not evidence. He's not under oath. He can't take any questions from us. So I submit to you that you don't follow that type of stuff. You look at the evidence that's been presented from that witness stand and the evidence that's been submitted to you in court, duly evidence, and that's what you decide this case on. So back to 6 box shots in the back. Yeah, that's pretty significant, okay? That means that Dr. Shepler said that they all went from back to front, right to left, and some of them slightly upward, and the other ones, greatly sharp angles, which she said was consistent with that somebody could be falling forward. Do you have Rippy's photograph?
Yeah.
So let's talk about, Mr. Collins is trying to say that, hey, we don't know where he is in the house, but you do have duly submitted evidence, not Mr. Collins' evidence, not Mr. Collins' testimony, but we have evidence that was testified to by an officer. And you can see in this photograph here, actually, there's his sock, has a hole in it. There's the other foot. And you can see kind of where he's placed there. You need Janae, so. And so what do we have? That's when Rippy came in. And if you look at the statement, and the statement is Mr. Meade saying that he's the one that rolled him over. There's no evidence in here. I think Mr. Collins wants you guys to believe that he was pulled or changed or pulled into the house. He's trying to put him out into the entryway there. There's no evidence of that. Don't be misled by that stuff. You look at the evidence that we've submitted to you.
Gary.
This is what bothers them. This is what bothers them, because they know their expert, I won't remind you of his, their experts' opinions on the trajectories don't work. He doesn't even consider the 3 shots in the mid-back where, guess who was aiming? Mr. Meade in his statement says, I was aiming center mass. I was looking through my sight, the red dot sight, and it was placed center mass. He was shot center mass. One grouping of shots was center mass. The other grouping of shots, as Mr. Merkel had indicated, was lower. And you heard from Dr. Bauer and showed that. But let's look what else we have. Janae, and there's no evidence to refute Janae or Sharon. They both said Sharon might, how good a look she got, Janae, both of them are peering in when he was still on his stomach. He had not been rolled over. And they both said his hands were out. That bothers them. The trained observer, that's what they call him, the trained observer, never once puts in that statement as to where Casey Goodson's hands were. Not once. Not once put in that statement whether his hands were out or where they were. But we do have evidence. We have evidence from Janae and from Sharon, uncontroverted. Janae has his up here. So she's got him somewhere here. And if you look at Officer Rippy's, looks like his head is up towards that table. So I don't know what's trying to be fed to the jury, but I'm just trying to make sure that you guys don't get misled. And look, if I say something that you think might be off, go by your memories. Go by the evidence. You remember during the trial when we had a photograph up there of showing the distance of the 100 yards going all the way down the street looking at Casey's from Sales to there. I don't know if you saw it, but Mr. Norder puts up there that photograph and it's zoomed in. You're all looking at it. It looks like it's closer. Mr. Merkel got up here and had to zoom it out for you. Use your common sense. Rely on the physical evidence, because as Mr. Merkel said, the physical evidence doesn't lie. Now they can, Chris Korn. I mean, he testified, and you're going to see in the instructions, you can believe all, part, or none of a witness's testimony. You could say part of it. Yeah, I could think some of it might be truthful. Some of it might not be truthful. But he was there. There's no question about it, because we had his GPS. We had that he was there in the neighborhood. Now, with the video from St. Matthias, we can see it was his van that was there. So there's no question. They aren't denying that he was there. But, you know, what's kind of interesting is that, remember the van that he's talking about, heating and cooling van. And he testified, once he went back into the neighborhood there, he's the one that pulled up close to try to see what was taking place. And it was after the fact. And it was after the fact. If you remember the transcript of Sheila Sanford, who was subpoenaed, ordered into court, wouldn't come into court, and so they had to read her testimony from a previous hearing. But in that report, she said, yeah, there's this heating and cooling truck. When we made the turn, there's this heating and cooling truck there. And you know, and I'd seen it there all day. And then there's some question, well, what time did you get back from the funeral? Oh, I don't remember. Well, we know this didn't occur at 11:30, but that's when she told the officer she was there at 11:30 home. This is the type of evidence they want you to rely on? And there's somebody that did hear what Officer Meade said, and that was Officer Rosser. And he said what he heard, he's a trained observer. Sheila Sanford is not. And you rely on your recollection whether you're going to believe Sheila Sanford. But Officer Rosser, who was his partner, they worked with for a long time, worked on So Fast, he said in his testimony, I heard 2 times, show me your hands, show me your hands. He never heard drop the gun. And do you think if he heard drop the gun, you would have heard that? You think that they wouldn't have asked him? So they come in here and they bring a transcript in from Sheila Sanford, and that's what they're going to have you rely on? Is this transcript of a lady that says she and her husband were making the corner and they saw, I don't know, Casey running? Well, running? Where was he? When in Mr. Meade's statement, he claims by the time he got down to the street that Casey was walking up to go through the gate. That makes no sense with Sanford. But that's what they want you to rely on. And by the way, what she said was, she didn't say drop the gun. Okay, or she didn't, so you listen and rely on your memories. Not sure, back to Chris Korn then. I think, you know, he didn't want to be involved in this. And there's, you know, even going through the voir dire process, there was a lot of people that didn't want to be involved in this. There's a lot of people that didn't want to be sitting on a case like this. He saw what he saw. He did come forward when he thought. What did he think? He did see something on TV from a prior hearing. And he didn't feel that what was being portrayed was accurate. He felt that they were portraying Casey as a gun-wielding.
Objection. Overruled. Closing argument.
That they considered him to be some crazy gun-wielding person. And all he says is, that's not what I saw. And in fact, what he said was, I didn't see a gun, but he came in here to just tell you what he did see. And if you look at the turn that Casey made, by the way, a continuous turn unlike what he says, when he made the turn, as fast as he came around that corner, it's seconds going past Mr. Meade's truck. And immediately, as Corn's behind him, look how quick that. Corn would have probably seen something very similar as to what Jason Meade saw. Now, what did he see? He saw movement. Looked like he was singing. And we've heard Janae, he loves those AirPods. He wears them all the time. Was he riding in the car with the AirPods? We do know from Detective Howe that they were continuously paired. He said they were continuously playing. And remember, I asked him the question. They were continuously playing, weren't they, Detective? Yes, in his analysis. The U2. So Corn sees him moving. What he says was dancing. There was movement in that car. Now, what he saw, I don't know, okay? Because I guess he puts in a statement what he saw, but let's look at that. Let's analyze that. Let's analyze that statement, because you guys, Mr. Merkel went over it a little bit. All these things, when you get that statement, I want you to grab that statement and you start listing everything that he saw while Casey was stopped. Go to the, I think it's page 8 or 9. He says, he's 10 feet away from me. I have this great view, the trained observer. I have this great view. And while he's there, before he makes his turn, there's an approaching vehicle. This is in great details, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a minor mistake. This is somebody that's already done something 30 days earlier. This is somebody sitting there maybe trying to put together his statement that's all justification. That statement, you read it, it's all his justification as to what he did at that house when Casey was going in his door. Says Casey's there, palm down. That's pretty specific. Approaches, I guess he's driving with one hand. He's going to make the turn with one hand. Palm down. And you saw I had Mr. Worley put the clip in. And, you know, this extended clip, you're talking about exaggeration. It'd make you think that this was a clip, a banana clip of some sort. I guess they call them magazines. You go, how in the world could he have ever seen this if he didn't see it? As Mr. Merkel said, he saw it at the scene after he shot him. 30 days later, he writes the statement. But you saw what Mr. Worley did. I had him hold it like this, because if I'm making a turn past you, and if I'm pumping the thing, the butt of the gun's pointing out the other direction of the car. And that's when he says he's radioing. There's a guy waving a gun out here. Now, we don't have those radio transmissions, unfortunately. He knows we don't have them, because it's signal. The marshals use the encrypted channel. We don't have any access to that, and he knows that. He can say whatever he wants. I did this, I said this, I did this. But there was only one person that responded, and that was Youngless. But he said, oh, everybody heard it. But everybody heard it. Well, don't know. Don't really know what all he, other than what he claims in a statement, is whether or not you're going to believe him. So he's like, what's going on here? We know that that is not true. And had we not had that video, this evidence would have been presented to you, that Casey was stopped there. That Casey did sit there and he saw these actions and stuff, unlike what Chris Korn's shown, but he sat there and all this movement of the gun, making him a bigger threat. Because if you read in his statement, he goes, one of the reasons he pursued him was because he was a threat to me and he was a threat to other motorists, leading up to the first step going towards his justification. First step to show why he's pursuing. Everybody's, oh, this is a big threat. I think it was one person, aggravated menacing, whatever, that's a misdemeanor. And they sat there and trying to say, the other one, improper handling of firearm, that's not a violent offense. This all, Casey's pointing a gun over this. Now let's talk about the reasonableness, because it is reasonableness. How reasonable is he? Sales and estates, he's got his backup. Rosser works with and Yorkowitz, so fast, they're all so fast. So he's got his team. When they do these entries, they're all together. They all make arrests together every day. They work with each other. They know each other. They plan with each other. Yet he doesn't take advantage of that, and in his own words, speeds off. And you know, I suspect you, had not Rosser and them be there, the story might be different. Because the story morphs when there's a witness around that maybe can contradict what he's saying. There was nobody at the intersection except him. But what he did say was, I looked down the street and I said, hey, there he is, there he is. And read that statement. It's strange, but read the statement. There he is, there he is. And Rosser sitting there saying, I have no idea what he's talking about, a guy with a gun, but he couldn't see a gun. He couldn't even tell what the guy looked like. He couldn't say what his clothing or anything. And by the way, in the statement, he gives no description of anything when the car passes by, but no description or anything. Doesn't see a gun. But that somehow just set him into motion, because now it looks like something has changed. Is it a field interview you're doing? Or what are you doing? Are you upset about something? Are you just overly aggressive about something? And this is what you guys can look at, and you can make these determinations as to what was going on in his mind. Because that's what they want you to do. Look in his mind. See what his subjective intents were, what he knew or didn't know. And we talked about this in voir dire. How somebody reacts, how somebody acts, what they do. You can look and see and come up with using common sense. Not speculation, but common sense. So all this training, and he takes off. He doesn't even do that so fast. They work together. Leaves the team behind. And he reads in there, it says, I accelerated down the street. Over what did he see? He says in there was no running. Nothing had changed. There was no thing in his statement Casey was threatening him, threatening anybody, pointing a gun, yelling. You remember Youngless when he said, oh, exigent circumstance. This is what I look for. If they're yelling, screaming, pointing a gun, or it's a combine thing, or there's a robbery or a rape or something serious that we have to get there. We all understand that. You use your common sense. Because remember, this is your call to make. Not Scanlon's and not Stoughton's. This is your call to make.
Councilman Approach?
Okay, and I'm sorry. I just want you all, I will agree with Mr. Collins on this. You make your decisions up as after you get back there and you start deliberating with each other. And you all converse with each other, check on each other's mind. You ask yourselves, what is going on here? Is this even reasonable? Is this even what is going on? Did Casey even know anything? But I want to tell you this. He brings up the CCW, and if you remember what Sharon, this picture, you can see it's something, a selfie young person uses. It's not pointed, it's pointed at the phone. And you can see off to the side, it's been cropped. You can see off the side because Sharon said, I think it was Destiny that was in the car with him, but they've sent you a cropped version of it, of this selfie. Cut her out. So what did she say? I was concerned about Casey having guns. But you know what? He had his carry concealed. He said, I'm concerned being a young black man, having a gun. What could happen? He goes, Grandma, don't worry.
Objection, Your Honor. Overruled, closing argument.
I know what to do if I get stopped by the police. Because I've got carry concealed. I put my hands up, I've got carry concealed, and I'm legal. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to, because we don't have enough time to go over things. I'd love to address everything that he went through. But we have to split ours up to a rebuttal and to a threat. But I ask you to rely on all your information, everything that you've got. Hold them to their burden. Don't let him shift that burden over onto us. This is their burden. This is them. If you go back there and you say, I don't know what happened, it's guilty. If you go back there and say, hey, Schroyer and Merkel didn't show me this, we don't have to. That's them. They're to present the evidence to you for justification. We put evidence in, but they're the ones to present the evidence to you for justification, not us. We've met our burden by his own statement that he met everything there. And I leave you with this. Ask yourself if this even makes sense. 12 o'clock in the afternoon, Friday, carrying a bag of subs. What was going on here? Casey's going inside to have lunch with his family, but first shoot an officer and then go in and sit down and eat lunch? Is that what was going on here?
Overruled, closing argument.
You think that that's what took place here? I'm going to go and shoot a police officer and then go and sit inside where my family was, where my baby D, who he knew was there, and then sit down at the table and eat lunch for everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, back to you, the jury instructions.